If a friend had come up to me and told me that my marriage would completely fall apart right in front of 200 people on our big anniversary night, I would have honestly thought they were just playing a joke. But sadly, that is exactly what happened to me. I was standing right in the middle of a very fancy room. It had these big, tall windows that looked out over the cold water of the Chicago River. In my hand, I held a glass of bubbly cider, and I was getting ready to stand up and make a big speech. I wanted to celebrate 15 years of being married to my wife, Emily. I had spent so many weeks and so much time planning every tiny part of this party all by myself. I did all that hard work because I really wanted her to feel how much I loved her. We had been feeling a bit far apart for the last few months, and I thought this would fix it. Then the band started playing a different song. Emily looked right into my eyes and gave me a very soft smile, but then she did something I never expected to see. She walked right past me. Instead of taking my hand so we could dance together, she went over to a man I didn't know who was wearing a very nice black suit. He held her very close, and she started laughing as they danced around the room. They looked like two people who were completely lost in their own little world. All around us, our friends and our family were clapping their hands and cheering. They thought this was just a special, planned part of the party. I felt my heart sink deep into my chest. I quietly took off my wedding ring and put it on the table right next to our big anniversary cake. Then I walked out of the room, feeling like the person I trusted most in the whole world had just broken my heart into pieces. The cold walk away. The freezing Chicago wind hit my face the second I stepped outside, biting at my skin. But the cold air didn't help me feel any better inside. My phone started buzzing and shaking in my pocket 3 times before I even made it to my truck in the parking lot. I saw Emily's name pop up on the screen over and over again, but I just couldn't bring myself to pick up. For a long time, I had been noticing little things that didn't seem quite right. She was staying late at her office at the marketing firm where she worked, and she never really told me why she had so much extra work. She would smile at text messages on her phone while we sat on the couch, but she never told me what was so funny or who was writing to her. She even put a new secret password on her phone after years of always leaving it open for me to see anything. Every time I asked her if something was wrong or if she was okay, she would just kiss my forehead. She told me it was just a lot of stress from work and that I shouldn't worry about her. Wanted to believe her with all my heart because our whole marriage was built on trusting each other through everything. As I drove away from the hotel, I kept asking myself if everyone else at that party knew a secret that I didn't know, searching for answers in the dark. I went to a small hotel on the other side of the city and sat alone in a quiet, dark room. I stayed awake all night long just thinking about everything that had happened and how it all went so wrong. At about 2 in the morning, my phone started ringing again. It wasn't Emily this time. It was my younger sister, Megan. Her voice sounded very shaky, like she had been crying for a long time. She asked me where I was and told me that Emily was really worried about me and was looking for me everywhere. I felt very angry, and I told her that Emily should just go talk to that man she was dancing with at the party. Megan got very quiet for a second on the other end of the line. Then she told me that she didn't think I had seen the whole story of what was happening. Before I could even ask her what that meant, she hung up the phone. Just a few minutes later, a message popped up on my phone from a phone number I didn't recognize. It was a picture. The photo showed Emily giving that same man in the suit a hug behind the stage where the band was playing. But in this picture, I saw something I had missed before. There was a wheelchair sitting right next to them with his name on a little tag. I started wondering why a man who looked like such a great dancer would need a wheelchair. The morning truth. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I drove back to the place where we had the anniversary party. I needed to know the truth of what was going on. The big room was mostly empty and quiet now. There were just some workers cleaning up the decorations I had spent all my life savings on. One of the workers saw me and walked over. He handed me a small white envelope. He said my wife had asked him to give it to me if I ended up leaving the party early. I opened it and saw Emily's very neat and pretty handwriting. The note said that if I was reading this, then things had gone very wrong. She asked me please not to make any big choices until I found out who the man named Daniel really was. She wrote, that the night meant more than I could ever imagine, and that she never wanted to hurt my feelings. My hands were shaking as I folded that paper back up. If she wasn't seeing someone else, then why did she let me feel so embarrassed in front of all our friends? And who was this Daniel? A heartfelt conversation. I eventually found Emily sitting all by herself on a wooden bench. She was outside a place where people go to get better after being sick, located on the north side of the city. Her eyes were very red and puffy because she had been crying so much. She didn't look like the happy woman I saw dancing the night before. Before I could even say a single word, she told me that I deserved to know the whole story, even if I decided I couldn't forgive her. She told me that Daniel wasn't a boyfriend at all. He was actually the best friend of her older brother. 15 years ago, right before Emily and I first met, there was a very bad car accident. Emily's brother didn't make it through the crash, and Daniel was the only one who survived. He had spent so many long years trying to heal from all his injuries. Recently, the doctors told him he was going to lose his ability to walk very soon. His one big wish was to have one last dance to remember the people they had lost in that accident. Emily kept it a secret from me because she wanted the dance to be a surprise tribute for everyone at the party. But she didn't realize how bad it would look to me when I saw it. The second secret that explained the dance. But I still had one more big question for her. I asked her why she'd been acting so strange and distant for many months. Emily put her head down and finally told me the big secret she had been hiding from me. She wasn't hiding a secret love for someone else. She was hiding how scared she was about her life. During a normal checkup, the doctors found a very serious problem with her heart. She told me she might even need a very big surgery to fix it. She went to all those doctor appointments by herself because she didn't want me to have to worry about her. She knew I was working so many extra hours at our small business to keep everything running, and she didn't want to be a burden on me. The late nights and the secret phone calls were all about talking to her doctors, dealing with insurance people, and planning that special dance with Daniel. She thought that by carrying the heavy weight all by herself, she was protecting me from the pain. Instead, she almost broke our whole marriage apart. I stood there feeling so bad about how quickly I let my own fear turn into mean and angry thoughts about her. Emily wasn't perfect in this either, though. She told me she should have been honest with me a long time ago instead of trying to control everything and hide things. A new beginning together. We both realize that even when you mean well and want to be kind, keeping secrets can cause a whole lot of trouble. I told her I was so sorry for walking away from the party so fast, and she told me she was sorry for not letting me in on what she was going through. We both saw that not talking to each other almost cost us everything we loved in our lives. Daniel came over to us then at the bench. He had tears in his eyes, and he thanked me for taking the time to listen to the truth. When I shook his hand, I realized that the real problem wasn't another person. The real problem was a silence that had grown between Emily and me. 6 months later, Emily had her heart surgery, and it went very well. Our marriage feels much stronger than it ever has now. We go to a counselor together to help us learn how to talk about hard things instead of hiding them from each other. We had to work very hard to fix the trust that the secrets had hurt. The photo from our anniversary used to make me feel very sad and angry, but now it reminds me how dangerous it is to guess what is happening when you're feeling scared. Daniel is still working on getting stronger every day, and every year at Christmas, he sends us a very nice card to thank us for being there for him. Looking back, I can see why I felt like I had to leave that night. Most people would feel the same way if they saw what I saw. But I also learned that what we see with our eyes in a sad moment isn't always the whole story of what is happening. Sometimes, the hardest part of marriage isn't dealing with a big mistake. It is having the heart to find out the truth before you say goodbye to someone forever.